About a month ago, I started this channel with the goal of revisiting nostalgic games from my childhood, and it does not get any more nostalgic than Crazy Taxi, an arcade game made by Sega in 1999 that puts you behind the wheel of a taxicab in a world where the traffic laws are as non-existent as the laws of physics, all while jamming out to some old school punk rock music from The Offspring and Bad Religion. When the game starts and it goes yeah 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 yeah, you know you're about to play a fun video game. As a kid, I really enjoyed playing this game both in the arcade and at home on the Dreamcast, but I was never any good at it. I couldn't even beat the Crazy Box mode, because while the game looks really simple, there is so much going on under the hood that makes this game really difficult to master. So in today's video, we're going to be rectifying that. But I'm not just simply going to be beating Crazy Taxi. I'm going to be getting every single achievement in the game using Retro Achievements, a platform that adds achievement support to all of your favorite classic games. There are 82 achievements in this set to collect. Some of these are the hardest achievements I have ever seen, with 19 of them having unlock rates below 1%. And out of the over 12,000 people who have played this game on Retro Achievements, only 46 of them have gotten them all, and I'm setting out to be number 47. If you're new to the channel, my name's Nostalgic Juice. I'm on a quest to get all the achievements in all of my favorite nostalgic childhood games. So if you like achievement hunting videos like this, make sure you subscribe because I'm uploading a video just like this every Saturday. So with that said, let's start the challenge and play some
Crazy Taxi!
So to start, I had to of course just throw on arcade mode so I can play around just like I would at the arcade. And that starts with picking your character. There are 4 to choose from. Axel, who is a good, well-rounded character, great for beginners. BD Joe, who has good speed and is great at doing drifts. Gina, who has the fastest acceleration. And Gus, who has the heaviest weight, which gives him slow acceleration, but he won't get knocked around by the other cars as much. I went ahead and stuck with Axel at first because I was getting my bearings since it's been a while since I played this game, and this is a good chance to explain how the game actually works. In Crazy Taxi, the objective is to pick up passengers and deliver them to their destinations. Passengers have a colored ring around them which gives you an idea of how much money you're gonna make. Green means the customer is paying more, but they're probably gonna wanna go further away, and then red pays less but the destination is closer. While delivering them, you can increase your money by passing other cars without hitting them, taking jumps, drifting, and just driving like a maniac. And these all stack, so the more combos that you can pull off without hitting anything, the more each one pays out. If you get them to their destination quick enough, you'll get a time bonus added to the clock to extend your game. But if not, the passenger will literally jump out and then you get nothing. So the goal of the game is to deliver as many passengers as you can and earn as much money as possible within the time limit. It's an incredibly simple concept, but there's a very high skill ceiling that makes this game infinitely replayable. I mean, if you look at top players, you can see what kind of crazy high scores are possible when you get good enough at the game. And that, in my opinion, is the perfect type of arcade game. You want a game that looks simple enough that anybody watching can get the gist of it and start playing and then having fun. But there needs to be enough depth and strategy so people have a reason to keep playing again and again. And what I really like about this game is it really embraces and even rewards skillful play. You look at arcade games like Pac-Man for example, and the more that you play, the harder it gets because those games were designed to suck down quarters to make the most money. So if you're a good player at Pac-Man and you get far into the game's gonna go, okay, you had your fun, these pellets, yeah, they're not even gonna do anything anymore. It's time for you to die so we can get the next player in. Whereas in Crazy Taxi, the game doesn't do anything to try to stop you, so your only obstacle is your own skill level, and seeing yourself improve each time is such a rewarding gameplay experience. As for Retro Achievements, it was definitely a nice little dopamine hit unlocking so many achievements so quickly. In just this first game, we got 7 of them. 1 for delivering our first passenger, 1 for getting to a 10-point combo, 1 for getting the beginner and intermediate ranking, and at the end we got enough points for our Class B license, which gets us an achievement for that, and then we also get 2 achievements for the Class C and Class D licenses as well. Not a bad way to kick off our challenge. The console version of this game introduced a new mode called Crazy Box, which is a series of bite-sized challenges designed to teach you some of the different mechanics of the game. I'm going to quickly go over these just to explain how they work, but we will be back to them later for some of the harder achievements, and I'll go into some of the more interesting ones in depth. The first one is the crazy jump, which we have to jump off this ramp, but to get enough speed, we'll have to do a crazy dash by shifting into reverse and then shifting back into drive and then accelerating. Crazy drift has us practicing the drifting mechanic. Crazy rush has us combining both of those to deliver passengers quickly, and we need to use the crazy drift to try to get our car facing in the right direction after dropping them off. This one was pretty hard. I ran out of time a few times and I struggled a bit here, but eventually I got the hang of it. After clearing a row, we unlocked a special challenge. This one has us passing cars, trying to rack up a 30 car combo, which was pretty easy. Just stick to the edge and then drive against the flow of traffic. Crazy Flag challenged us to turn around quickly and run over this flag, and then the next one, Crazy Turn, took this concept further by having us turn around multiple times down this winding road. Crazy Jam has us fighting our way through heavy traffic to deliver passengers, and Crazy Parking has us rushing through a crowded parking lot to get to the goal in time. This one was a lot harder. I struggled a bit here too, but I eventually got it. Crazy Balloons has us popping balloons in an open field. This one was probably the easiest of them all. Crazy Bound has us taking these ramps while drifting to navigate this obstacle course. Crazy Pull has us delivering 8 passengers, and we have to try to drift and use the pull to stop so we're lined up facing the correct direction. I was not very good at this. I eventually just started taking pulls head on because it was easier but slower. I was able to clear it using this method, but there are other achievements here that won't be so easy. Then we have Crazy Party, where we have to pick up a guy and his 6 identical twin brothers scattered all throughout this area. And I think it's hilarious, sometimes they'll move in perfect unison, like a hive mind or something. Then there's Crazy Bowling, which you gotta knock down all these pins, and we pretty much have to get a strike each time. You have so little time that you're not gonna be able to go back for any you missed. In fact, you can't even really take it slow. You have to drift and then immediately shift into a crazy boost, and even with that, I still ended up with less than a second to spare. And if you think that was bad, Crazy Zigzag was the absolute worst. We have to take this lady and snake through the course, and we have so little time. We basically have to hit every turn with a perfect crazy drift, stop, and dash to make it. One wrong move and I'm either sliding off the track, or I'm taking a turn too sharp, or I don't even know what was going on over here. Every time you fall in the water, the guy goes,
"No time to take a bath."
And that's in reference to the fact that only the sweatiest of gamers who haven't showered in months are going to be able to be good enough to beat this level. I mean, come on, we're here! We're literally at your destination! What do you mean I failed? I struggled the most to get this one, and eventually I finally got the perfect run and I made it. Man, am I so glad that's over. I don't ever want to look at Crazy Zigzag ever again. Alright, now what's the next one? Oh, come on! Yeah, so we have another Crazy Zigzag where we gotta deliver these 7 grandmas to various points along the track so they can just stand in the middle of nowhere, I guess. The drop-off zones are right at the edge too. I think you're intended to do a drift and then stop right at the edge, but I was not about to do that. Thankfully, we had more time this time around, so it wasn't as bad as the first Crazy Zigzag. Thankfully, the final challenge was not Crazy Zigzag 3, it's Crazy Attack. We gotta take this guy on a tour of the whole city, driving through each location in a big lap within the time limit. This one wasn't too hard. It was actually kinda nice. Crazy Taxi isn't really a racing game, but I've always wondered what a racing game with Crazy Taxi physics and driving would look like, and it would probably just be this. It was a little annoying though, because there's no visible checkpoints or guide arrows, so you kinda just have to know where to go. It is one path, but there are forks and turns, so it's not impossible to get turned around. But I played this game a lot when I was younger, so I was pretty familiar with it. Our reward for clearing the Crazy Box is a whopping 17 achievements. One for each of the challenges except for Crazy Bound, where we actually got a second achievement for finishing with less than 3 seconds left on the clock. There are more achievements like that for getting higher scores, but those are very difficult and I gotta get some more practice in before attempting those. We also unlocked the Crazy Bike as a vehicle, which I decided to try out in the other new mode the console version has, Original Mode. Original Mode works the same as Arcade Mode, except it uses a new map exclusively made for the console versions, so it's basically just a new area to explore. The Crazy Bike is a very fast vehicle with crazy high handling and acceleration, and we'll be using it a lot to get the rest of the achievements, as in my opinion, it's the best vehicle in the game. I say in my opinion because I'm not some pro Crazy Taxi player, I don't speak as an expert, I'm sure there probably is a better vehicle or an optimal strat, I'm just going off of my personal experience and documenting my journey through the game. Just wanted to make that little disclaimer in case anybody's about to type up a novel, actually, according to the game's statistics and the data mine values of each vehicle, but I still do want to know that, don't get me wrong, I love when people teach me things. I just don't want to seem like I'm coming off as some pro expert YouTuber or anything. I mean, come on, just look at me. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. The original map is a lot more maze or grid-like than the arcade map, which sort of loops around with a few forks and turns. This does mean that the guide arrow is a little less helpful at times, but with enough practice, you'll start to just learn the map, and then that doesn't become as much of an issue. I personally prefer the arcade map, but that might just be the nostalgia talking. Both maps are still pretty great, and I think having a new map for the console version makes a lot of sense because at an arcade, games need to be short because you're paying per play, so that sort of impacts how the map needs to be designed. But on a home console, you can expand the map a bit since the people playing are going to be spending a lot more time in the game, so I think this is a really cool thing they included. After our first round of original mode, we got another 10 achievements. One for the first passenger, one for using the bike for the first time, one for delivering 8 passengers in a single game, one for getting to ranks 40 and 25, and we managed to get the S rank license by the end of this round, which gets us that achievement along with the class A, B, C, and D licenses. Altogether, we're already at 36 achievements, and I've only been playing for like an hour and a half at this point, and half of that was spent on Crazy Zigzag. But the hardest achievements are yet to come, and I definitely needed to get some more practice in, so I decided to go for the higher rank achievements back in arcade mode. There are 4 different achievements for earning an S rank with each of the 4 characters in arcade mode, as well as 2 achievements for earning the awesome and crazy rank. So these are what I was focusing on for the next few games. And with the skills that I practiced in the Crazy Box combined with the agility of the Crazy Bike, I was actually doing way better in these next few games. One of the greatest feelings in an arcade game like this is that moment when it all starts to kind of click and you start really seeing how much you've improved over time. And Crazy Taxi is one of the best games to get that feeling. 1 minute you're just fumbling around driving like an idiot, and the next second you're weaving through traffic and racking up combos like a pro. And the sky is the limit. If you look up some top level players, they're able to rack up inconceivable amounts of points. I'm not saying everybody who plays should be trying to get to that level because let's be honest, you're not going to get that good. But the fact that the skill ceiling is that high, that means you're always going to have room for improvement, and I think that's how you make an arcade game that is infinitely replayable for years to come. And I definitely have some room for improvement before I can get this mastery. But in these next few games, I managed to chip off a few more achievements. I got 2 achievements for getting some of the higher combo chains, and I was easily able to get all the S ranks for each character. And I even got the awesome rank, which is a first for me, so that really was an awesome feeling. And as a result of all that, we got 4 achievements for reaching some rank milestones, and for passing the A rank, but the crazy rank I just could not get close to. We need $20,000 to get to the crazy rank, and even in my best run, I just barely squeezed past the $10,000 we needed for the awesome rank. But I am improving with each run, and I'm learning a lot about the game. Like how customers are in the same spots each game, and they'll want to go to the same locations each time. Like for example, this lady right at the start always wants to go to the top of the cable cars, and once I drop her off, I'll grab this lady who always wants to go to the bottom cable cars. That way I can rack up some big points on these jumps on the way down. Every customer in the game behaves in a similar way, so part of getting a great score is no doubt going to be figuring out what the best routes are that keep me in the areas where I can rack up the most points. That might even mean going out of your way to find some customers like this grandma who I guess just hangs out on the rooftop who wants to go to the police station, or this lady at the bottom of the ocean who just wants some KFC. There's also some more advanced techniques that the Crazy Box doesn't even teach you, like the fact that you can chain crazy dashes together to get higher speeds. Combine that with some advanced map knowledge, like how you can hug the walls on this highway to easily rack up bonus points by brushing past all the other cars, and that's going to lead to a huge increase in your score averages. With some newfound confidence, I decided to go back and take another crack at the Crazy Box achievements. We already got 1 from each of the challenges, but each of them has at least 2, sometimes 3 achievements tied to getting high scores. The Crazy Bike does make some of these easier thanks to the increased handling. Both Crazy Zigzags were actually much more bearable now, and I managed to get the achievement for both of those pretty easily. Crazy Balloons, Crazy Flag, Crazy Rush, Crazy Pull, and Crazy Party were all pretty easy thanks to the bike, so there's not much to talk about for those, so that's plus 5 achievements. The rest of these were still pretty difficult even with the bike, and in some cases the bike actually makes things harder. Like for Crazy Bowling, the bike isn't very good at drifting, so getting strikes was too difficult, so I ended up having to switch back to a car for that one. For this achievement, we have to finish with 2 seconds left on the clock, and the hardest part for me was the second to last set of pins. I kept overshooting the drift and losing a bunch of time on that, but eventually I did get a successful run and I got the achievement. Some of these I could just not figure out how to do. I thought Crazy Jump would be the easiest, but it ended up being one of the hardest. We had to get a score of 330 yards for the achievement. Honestly, it just feels random at times because I looked up other people's high score runs and they're doing the exact same thing I'm doing, just chained together crazy dashes, but the closest I got was 320 yards, so we're gonna come back to this one later. The hardest one I would say probably has to be Crazy Bound. We have to finish with at least 12 seconds left on the clock, and this one is so difficult, I was actually starting to reconsider if I should even try to master this game. My best time was still 2 seconds short of the achievement before I decided to try again later. Crazy Through wasn't too bad, I needed a score of 110 or higher for the achievement, and Gus is the man for the job since his car is the thinnest, so he can squeeze between the lanes of oncoming traffic, which racks up points quickly. I don't want to downplay it, it's still pretty hard because you pretty much have to hold the combo the entire time, and you have to drive forward a little bit, otherwise you won't get enough cars passing by. But it wasn't too difficult compared to the other achievements in this game. I did lose a run though, thanks to this rude car who just decided to switch lanes for no reason and hit me head on, 2 points away from the target score. Oh, and of course it's another taxi. Turns out we're not the only crazy taxi in the game. Crazy Parking took quite a few attempts. We had to finish with 6 seconds left on the clock. The bike's agility helps weave through the parked cars, but because of how lightweight it is, sometimes you'll crash and get knocked back really hard. This one might actually be easier to do with Gus in a car since he's the heaviest so he doesn't get knocked around, but I ended up getting it done with the bike after a pretty solid run. Crazy Jam is one where Gus is definitely the way to go thanks to his thin car. And I was driving really well and really consistently through traffic. I was actually starting to feel pretty awesome, I'm weaving between cars like a pro over here. But I did keep struggling on the pickups and drop-offs, and we have to finish with 12 seconds on the clock for the achievement, so I decided to switch back to the bike, and that definitely helped. We did end up getting this achievement, but I was starting to feel like the bike was becoming a bit of a crutch. Some of these harder achievements are definitely going to require me to learn how to use the cars better. While researching some pro tips, I learned that you can actually do a backwards circular drift, and if you do it right, you can keep it going forever to rack up bonus points. So I used this trick to get the achievement in Crazy Drift for getting a combo higher than 50. And no doubt this technique will be useful when going for the high scores in the other modes. Crazy Turn has 3 achievements, and using the bike I was able to get the second one pretty easily for finishing with at least 5 seconds on the clock, but for the third achievement I have to finish with at least 10 seconds on the clock. Even with the bike, I was really struggling to get this, so I decided to come back to it later. That just leaves Crazy Attack, and with all my practice I've been doing in the arcade mode and all these other crazy boxes, I was absolutely killing it in my very first attempt. We have to finish with 30 seconds left on the clock, and again we're using Gus because he's the heaviest car and doesn't get knocked around by the other cars. And I'm not 100% sure about this, but it seems like traffic is a lot heavier in this challenge than usual. But seriously, I was just weaving through traffic, jumping over cars. I felt like I was playing like a pro. Of course, some crazy taxi experts probably watching and thinking otherwise, but that's the great thing about arcade games. You're not really competing with anybody else, you're just competing with yourself. And I am absolutely kicking my own ass with this driving right now. After a solid run, we got that achievement, and that just leaves 3 more Crazy Box achievements, but we're gonna go ahead and pin those for later. For now, let's mix things up and go back to original mode. The achievements for original mode are pretty much the same as the achievements for the arcade mode. Getting an S rank with all the characters, getting a 30 combo chain, getting the highest rank, and getting the awesome and crazy ranks. And remember, in some cases, getting one achievement also means that we're getting more achievements in the process. So it really does make the 82 achievements in this set seem more manageable. It's also why we're able to knock out so many in the beginning. Because we just got all these achievements in arcade mode and they're basically the same thing, there isn't much to talk about regarding the achievements themselves since I used the same strategies to get them, so after getting all of them again, that's plus 11 achievements. But spending this much time on the original mode map made me realize just how different it really is. I said earlier that it felt more grid or maze-like, but I really don't think that's doing it justice. Take a look at this map. This is the arcade map. You can see that it's one big loop. There are a few forks and turns, but it all connects back to the main path, which makes it essentially one big circle. Compare that to the original mode map, this thing is just a cluster of roads. It honestly looks like a maze that you'd find on the back of a kid's menu. And this map really doesn't do it justice either. There are so many shortcuts and alternate paths that are essential for getting high scores, and the guide arrow doesn't point you towards these, so you really have to just know the map well. In fact, even without shortcuts, the guide arrow just sometimes doesn't know what to do on this map. I think they probably just carried over the arrow from arcade mode, and it was originally designed for the arcade map, which was easier for the arrow to know where to go, since it is just one big circular direction. It was fun though, getting to learn a new map, and I happened to stumble upon something pretty big. I missed the turn to drop off this passenger, and ended up running out of time, but he didn't jump out of my car like they normally do. Eventually he did, and at first glance I thought maybe it was a bug, but if you guys saw my last video where I spent an hour searching for a music note in Banjo-Kazooie, convinced that the game was bugged, only to later find out that the music note appeared for 2 frames when searching for it, I didn't want to make the same mistake of assuming this is a bug. And it turns out the reason why he didn't jump out is if you're close enough to the destination, the customer doesn't jump out. So with this knowledge, I was actually able to get the achievement for the Crazy license using the backwards drifting trick I talked about earlier. And it is absolutely hilarious watching the customer get all mad because we're taking too long, but they're still making it rain thousands of dollars as a tip. And this cheesy strat will help us get the next 2 achievements, which just so happen to be the hardest ones in the entire game, each of them having about 0.5% unlock rate, which means out of the 12,080 players who have played this game on Retro Achievements, only 58 of them have unlocked this achievement. To get them, we have to get the S-Rank license in Arcade and Original mode using the hardest difficulty options, which means we have less time, more traffic, and a smaller window to earn time bonuses for quick drop-offs. And even with the cheese strat, these are still so difficult because of the time limit. So I had to figure out an optimal route that got me to a location where I can do the backwards drift with enough time to rack up at least $5,000 for the S-Rank. Original mode was the easier of the two. At the start, back up and pick up this lady who wants to go to the Smith Club. Try to get as many combos on the way there as possible to reduce the score that you need for the S-Rank. Then after dropping her off, pick up this guy nearby and take him to the lighthouse. The lighthouse is a nice open area which is very easy to pull off the reverse drift since there's no traffic to bump into. Just make sure to remember to stop before time runs out, and that got us the achievement. For arcade mode, we only have to pick up a single passenger, but the timing is very tight here, so it's a lot harder. Take her to the top cable car, but don't drop her off yet. Instead, you're going to use this wall to stop yourself quickly, and then do your backwards drift. It's a tight window because you want to be as close to that wall as possible to minimize the risk of bumping into traffic, but if you're too far from the drop off, she'll jump out. So you do need to dip into the oncoming traffic a little bit, which is why it's important to do the drift in a clockwise circle going with the flow of traffic. That way it's less likely that you'll bump into the other cars. It took several attempts, and even though it's a cheese strat, it's still just as difficult as everything else we've done so far. But eventually we got the run and managed to get the achievement. Unfortunately, there's no cheese to exploit for the last few Crazy Box achievements, so we're gonna have to just lock in and get good. For Crazy Jump, I still don't know how to do this one. I'm convinced there's just a bit of luck to it. I must have attempted it 100 more times, and eventually I managed to get the jump over 330 yards for the achievement. But I seriously cannot tell the difference here. I did the exact same thing every time, just spamming crazy dashes and trying to get one right before the jump, but regardless of how it happened, I was happy to be done with this one. Crazy Turn I was still struggling a lot with. This achievement is just really hard. I looked up some videos on YouTube to try to help me, and I found the world record time for this is like 3 seconds faster than what we need. After many attempts, I learned that the trick is to just not try to do the drift with the bike. You can do sharp enough turns by slowing down just a little bit and then doing a crazy dash to get back to full speed. Also, stick with BD Joe for this one, since his handling is the best. After many more failed attempts, I finally got the good run, and we just barely squeezed by with only 1/4 of a second to spare. That just leaves Crazy Bound. This one was still giving me tons of trouble, but I realized that I was doing a crazy dash after every jump to be quicker, and that's a good idea for almost all the jumps except for the last 2. These jumps happen in quick succession, and trying to dash here makes it too difficult to line yourself up for the next jump, especially the last straight jump where if you're even just a little bit off, you're going right into the ocean. So taking the time to get those last 2 jumps more precisely is worth it, but we still only ended up getting the achievement with half a second to spare. And I am so glad that with that, the Crazy Box achievements are finally done. These were so difficult. These next 2 achievements were a lot easier by comparison. For these, we just have to deliver 9 passengers with the time limit set to only 3 minutes in both arcade and original mode. Arcade mode was the easiest since by now I'm so familiar with this map. Just focus on the customers with red circles as these are the customers that want to go the shortest distance. I managed to get this one first try without too much difficulty, but for original mode, the more expansive map makes things a little trickier. I did learn another cool secret about this game though. If you press the right trigger twice and hold it when selecting your character, you'll get Another Day mode. This has you starting in a different spot on the map, which can change up the strategies that you use. Starting in the city area of the map was way better in my opinion than the regular starting area, and I was able to get this achievement in just a few attempts. And that just leaves one achievement left, getting the Crazy License in arcade mode. And I could just do another backwards drifting trick and call it a day, but that sort of feels anticlimactic. I mean, can I really say that I mastered this game if I can't even get the top score without exploits? I mean, sure, I'll have the achievements, but this isn't just about the achievements. I really want to actually master this game, so that I can set some high scores if I ever happen to stumble across this game at an arcade. And I've already come so far. The Crazy Box that I could never beat as a kid and even struggle with now as an adult at the start of this challenge, I feel like I can beat that no problem now. So why not just go all the way and get this achievement without using any exploits? And that's exactly what I did, and I streamed the last few runs over on Twitch TV so you guys can watch me struggle live. And it took 3 hours of attempts and some really close calls. I learned that the key is to have a balance of short distance customers and long distance customers. Short distance customers you can often complete quick enough that you're actually gaining back more time than you spent, so that extends the amount of time that you have in your game. But these customers don't really pay that much. That's where the long distance customers come into play. So finding a balance of using short customers to increase your game time and then long customers to increase your score is the goal. I also learned that you don't really have infinite customers. There were times where I ran out of the short distance customers and had to take the longer distance ones, and figuring out which long distance customers would bring me to a better area really helped. After struggling and workshopping all the different customer paths and trying to find the optimal routes and putting everything that I learned into this final attempt, I managed to cross the $20,000 threshold, and after the game was over, the final achievement popped and I have officially mastered Crazy Taxi, making this my 5th mastery on retro achievements. The journey through this game was my hardest one yet. I've done difficult achievements before, like defeating Grunty Damageless in Banjo-Kazooie in my last video, but that was different because I already kind of knew what to do, I just had to execute it. But I had genuinely no idea what I was doing for the first half of this challenge, and I really needed to learn things about the game that I would have never guessed playing this game as a kid. And it's really satisfying to see how over the years I've improved at video games. 20 years ago, I couldn't even beat the Crazy Box, but now I'm not only beating it, but I'm getting even harder scores. It was a really rough mastery, I struggled a lot, and I thought about quitting multiple times, but I'm glad that I stuck it out. Being good at Crazy Taxi just makes you feel like an epic gamer. Even if you don't think you can get all the retro achievements, I cannot recommend this game enough. Every single gamer needs to play Crazy Taxi at least once in their life, even if it's the crappy Steam version without the original soundtrack. As for the retro achievements, I think these are pretty hard, maybe even a little too hard in some cases, especially for the Crazy Box ones that require scores only seconds away from world record times. When I was going for those, I was so convinced that they were too unfair and they should be removed, and what were the developers thinking about putting these in? But now that I got them all, looking back, I did enjoy the challenge. It's not like you have to watch a loading screen or anything like that. If you fail a challenge, you can get right back into the next attempt in a second. So it was just pure challenge instead of frustration having to watch a cutscene or something. Overall, I really enjoyed this set and I recommend it to any other Retro Achievement player. Even if you don't intend to master it, there are still plenty of achievements worth a lot of points, and you never know, you might just surprise yourself by getting some of the harder ones with some practice. That wraps up today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm uploading a video just like this every week playing some nostalgic games, so if you want to see more like this, make sure that you subscribe, and do me a favor, leave me a comment down below. That really helps out the channel a lot. If you need proof of that, just look at how rapidly we've been growing. My channel is just over a month old and we already have over 3,000 subscribers. I really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you all for the support. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, stay crazy, gamers.
No time to take a bath.